And thank you everyone for joining us. First, my name is Neel Jacobs. I'm the Director of Sales here at Wovenmedia, and I am responsible for new revenue generation in the sales organization. Also, we have John Moezzi representing the Sharp NEC organization. He's a national account manager and a great partner in their retail environment for us here at Wovenmedia. And then finally, we have Drew Walls, who is our account manager for retail here at Wovenmedia, and does great work for us in the retail environment as well. So for today's agenda, what we wanted to do was kind of introduce our respective companies just briefly, give you a little bit of background and history on who Wovenmedia and Sharp NEC are, and then talk about this concept for a new opportunity to make a difference in big box retail, kind of the business case and use case behind how we came up with this innovative solution. And really the key to it being that perfect match of the right hardware with the right software. So the concept of together we cracked the code to make this a chain-wide deployment that was highly successful and projects a brighter future for digital signage. And then finally, we'll leave some time to answer everyone's questions. So please make this an interactive session, and if you have any questions, enter them into the chat field. And so without further ado, I'll introduce John Moezzi from Sharp NEC and let him start with their company overview.
Thank you, Neel. As Neel mentioned, I am with Sharp NEC, and my focus is working with national retailers and ecosystem partners like Wovenmedia that focus on the retail marketplace. Last year, NEC and Sharp merged display businesses. We are now Sharp NEC Display Solutions, worldwide leader in display technology. We have a pretty robust display product line. We're going to discuss projectors today. We offer a very broad line of projection solutions, anything from small meeting spaces all the way up to large auditoriums, digital cinema. We also offer large format LCD displays that range in size from 32 inches all the way up to 98 inches. We're a leader in video wall solutions using ultra narrow bezel, large format LCD, and even small format as well. And we also offer bezel-free solutions using direct view LED. Our LED solutions are very popular in the retail marketplace, and that area is growing quickly for us. So we're excited about that product line. Our desktop monitors are used in office applications, but increasingly we're using them in video wall solutions for retailers, as well as order confirmation, point of sale. We also offer a set of collaboration tools that empower teams to connect, share, and create together. So we're happy to be here presenting to you today.
Thanks so much, John. And I'll hand it over to Drew for a quick introduction of Wovenmedia.
Thanks, guys. Again, my name is Drew Walls. I'm the account manager for Wovenmedia. I specifically manage the Sam's Club and Walmart business. With any sort of end-to-end solution, your really key focus is providing an end-to-end service, and that's really representative of what we do here at Wovenmedia. Quickly on the screen, we've got our Woven Manager CMS system, which our clients utilize to upload all of their files. Additionally, we provide a woven content system as well that includes premium content with Right Clear's video that our clients are able to leverage. And then most importantly, on the back end, we provide a woven service so that the expertise within the retail environment to help bring some of this innovation to life. We kind of continue down to the next slide. So in 2013, our relationship with Sam's Club really began, starting with the implementation and retrofit within their electronics department, specifically their TV wall. As we sort of migrated through several years and 3 generations of this 4K content through TV within electronics, we began supporting the business within their tire and battery center as well. To get a sense of what this network the foundation of this digital signage network we began to grow with our client represented roughly at the time 21,000 screens across 600 clubs chain wide across the U.S. businesses. As we last year began looking at impacts to retail as the digital signage network provider for Sam's Club, there were some specific criteria and opportunities we look forward in a post-pandemic retail customer experience and club. And we can go to the next slide. So as we ask ourselves these questions of how do we enrich or reframe the customer experience in store, in club, there were some key criteria that we used to mirror up with how we deliver to our client Sam's Club. Importantly, how do we support their new hassle-free scan and go initiative, as well as enhancing their member experience, providing wayfinding and navigating and queuing customers through this new program, this new technology, this new way to shop. Ultimately driving sales, looking at product adjacencies, leveraging some unutilized retail space within the sales floor, and ultimately at a cost efficient with EDLC in mind. We wanted to really provide a solution that mirrored that sort of that corporate with Sam's Club. And ultimately, like I mentioned, utilizing that space on the racetrack in which we were able to partner and get some of these projectors installed. Go ahead. So really, we'll distill some of this in some of these ingredients later. But when we match up against a lot of these criteria and delivering success to our client, it's really the perfect match coming when we partnered with Sharp NEC and their expertise in this projector field. And I can kind of give it over to John real quick if you want to speak to that hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Drew. So we're utilizing the NP-P605UL laser projector for this particular application. When you look at a retail environment, you have to be focused on operations, and really the most important thing is delivering a solution that can be operated in an unattended fashion. Retailers are focused on executing their business. So when you're developing a solution to go into the retail environment, you have to take that into consideration. One thing that was very important here was the advent of the laser projector. With the laser projector, there are no lamps to change. And this particular model also has a sealed optical block, which is very important. That means there's no filters to change and no consideration for dust affecting the imaging. So that together really presented an opportunity for a solution that could go into retail at scale and be essentially maintenance free and provide for that unattended operation that's so critical. Another nice feature of this particular projector is the fact that it has vertical and horizontal lens shift. This really aids in the installation of the projector. Going into 600 different locations and multiple projectors per location, you're bound to have differences in the layout of the store and obstacles, and the lens shift really helped there. Tilt-free installation allows the projector to be rotated 360 degrees, which enabled us to install from the ceiling and shoot down directly onto the floor for this particular application. Remote monitoring and control is huge. And I know Woven will speak more about that, but they're utilizing their CMS to remotely monitor and control the projectors, power them down, change inputs, that sort of thing. So all that together really leads to a maintenance-free and unattended operation, which again is critical for this sort of retail application. And we back this projector with a 5-year warranty for peace of mind.
Yeah, and just going back to your some of the functionality that we have Woven Media sort of built into our existing CMS, really building upon the knowledge base that we had been ascertaining for over the past decade with Sam's Club was instituting, to John's point, a lot of the brightness and picture control functionality enabling us to remotely navigate some of the complexity of the different variability within a retail environment. And then another big sort of point in terms of our additional functionality, bringing that to the mix, was remote on-off capability. When you have, an expenditure or hardware such as a laser projector in your club, and you've invested in that, there's things that we can do on our end to extend the lamp life, for example, by being able to control and monitor the amount in which these are being utilized. So some key functionality that really mirrored well with the functionality of the hardware itself. Going back to, here's a couple of examples. On the left, you have representation of the wayfinding for the Scan and Go hassle-free checkout at Sam's Club that you'll see, utilizing the NEC projector to forecast the arrows that are actually motion arrows, as well as the Scan and Go fast lane graphics. And then additionally, the other piece of this is ultimately, how do we capitalize on unused space in club, right? To really help support the monetization structure for the Sam's Club team. So essentially moving into a high traffic area and forecasting a value proposition to the customer that's disruptive, but also has product adjacency and relevancy to their in-club shopping experience, ultimately providing them with something new that they've never seen before. And so that's the picture on the right is a representation of what is currently in roughly about 70 Sam's Clubs on both sides. So you'll see two of those if you go into a club today. So just kind of distilling this into the formula in which our partnership at Woven Media with Sharp and NEC is really taking our client Sam's Club content married with the Woven Manager CMS system, partnering with industry-leading media players that are ultimately going to fuel that content to deliver it to an NEC laser projector, resulting in a high-impact ad on the and wayfinding marketing materials at Sam's Club. And just from personal experience, this is the cool stuff that we get to do in marketing. We get to present to you guys about lasers today, right? That's always a fun topic, and so it's been nice looking back and being able to celebrate that success with our clients in delivering this end-to-end solution. We have a quote down here from one of our clients at Sam's Club, Mike Hyatt. So we had touched on this a little bit in the past. One of the challenges with introducing innovation into a retail environment is obviously there's going to be vulnerability in the different setups that we're going to see within store layouts. A lot of those operational challenges John mentioned previously, mounting these to essentially the ceiling, really married up really well with one of our service offerings with Woven Expert and Service. At the sort of by the numbers, when you look at the full chain rollout and deployment, these are the numbers that we're seeing that we've been able to successfully implement within the Sam's Club. And a big tip of the hat to our internal clients and all of the different project teams who we work with day in, day out to help facilitate the efficiencies and ultimately delivering the solution to the clubs.
Yeah, I would just add to that it's centrally important in a retail environment, especially for an application like this where the projectors are mounted 12 feet above finished floor, that you utilize best practices operationally and really think through the deployment and just nail it. Because you don't have the opportunity to service these projectors in the field. A lift is required to access them. So we really thought through this with Wovenmedia, and we went through a pilot process where we tested everything out, made sure the settings were spot on, and that the control was fully integrated into the CMS system. And that's what's made it a success. So the future really is bright for projection and retail. We're going to see more and more unique and engaging applications using projection mapping techniques and creative content. But of course, the solutions must be scalable and centrally managed, relying on those best practices I just mentioned and the best hardware and software products from leaders like Sharp NEC, Wovenmedia, and BrightSign, the media player in this particular situation. Now I'd like to present a proof of concept video that depicts a product selection application using projection mapping. We collaborated with our partners at BrightSign on this, and they did a great job in developing this proof of concept video. The concept is a consumer that is shopping for wheels at a local tire shop. The shopper browses several wheels and brake calibers interactively via their mobile device. When the shopper has found a product of interest, it then can be previewed against a physical tire. And I think you'll enjoy this. The interactivity was developed using a mobile device. This could certainly be a kiosk. So great job by BrightSign in putting that together, utilizing the same projector that we're using at Sam's, the NP605UL. Now, projecting onto retail storefront glass is a popular engaging application. We've turned it up a notch, though. What's next is ActiveScene. ActiveScene transforms glass windows or walls into a stunning digital signage surface with the ability to turn opaque or transparent. And we look forward to working with Wovenmedia to bring this solution to many retailers. Let's have a look.
It turns underutilized glass into dynamic signage and privacy. ActiveScene works in conjunction with Vela Film by Avery Dennison. Designed as a two-piece display system, the film placed on glass becomes a projection surface. When the film is in the off state, it becomes opaque that can be used for privacy or rear projection. Turned on, the film becomes transparent, providing unobtrusive views into your location. The complete ActiveScene solution includes a site survey, projector and lens, Vela Film media player, controller, and all necessary hardware and cables. Installation and testing of the system are also included. ActiveScene. Transform everyday glass into your own on-demand digital signage solution.
Sorry, I may have jumped your slide there at the end, John. I think the video was wrapping up though. I wanted to leave time for any questions from the group. Or did you have anything else to add to that slide that I cut off, John?
No, that was it. Cool. Thanks, Neel.
No, no problem at all. So I did want to leave some time for question and answers with the group. It does look like we have some QA as well as possibly some chat questions. The first question is, what would a retail business need to implement the projectors and CMS in the walls? And I'm reading that, please feel free to clarify for the attendee, but I'm reading that as maybe like the infrastructure and sort of the physical aspect of it.
Yeah, from just a hardware standpoint, what a business would need to implement a solution like this would be, your projector, a media player, as well as the CMS. So those are going to be your three main components. Obviously, there's going to be needs in store for power, data, things of that nature for an install in order for you to get that amount of connectivity and control over your ads, as well as so that those are essentially your hardware components. Don't know, John, if you would add anything to that.
No, I think you covered it adequately. Of course, there's, other peripheral products that are required, accessories,
Right.
We've got the pole that we use to mount the projector. You've got cabling and things of that nature, but you've essentially covered it.
Awesome. So for the next question in the QA, it says, what would a retail business need? No, that was the question we just did. I'm sorry. I think Dion may have clicked the wrong one. It was, how are you measuring ROI for the projectors? Is it related to sales increase, or is there another metric?
Yeah, so in the instance of our case study with Sam's utilizing the racetrack or the projectors on the racetrack or the sales floor, they're going to have adjacency to HBA as well as laundry. So the ROI is really going to be measured on our client side, really. They would look at the sales lift, associated with when the ads began to run and things of that nature.
Awesome. And then it looks like we have one here from Ken on the Active Scene product. Is that a film product with a projector, or a see-through display, or some sort of magical combination of both?
It is a film called Vela that was developed by Avery Dennison, one of our partners in Active Scene. And basically the film receives a control signal that allows it to either go opaque or transparent, as well as show the content.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then along those lines, the question is around the effect of ambient light on the projected image.
Yeah, so ambient light's always a factor when you're using projection. So as part of this process, we really, studied the store environment to determine what the correct projector would be, and installation locations within the store. So ambient light's always a factor. You have to certainly take that into consideration in your installations.
Great. And then a really good question. The warehouse environment, the air can be quite dirty, dusty, etc. So the question is around what kind of filter life cycle you're looking at with these NEC laser projectors. And is it okay to deal with this when you, or how are you dealing with this when you need lifts to change filters and so forth?
Oh, well, that's really the beauty of this projector. The optical block is fully sealed, so there is no filter to change, and dust cannot get inside the block, so you don't have to worry about a degrading image from the dust over time. That was something that was really key to being successful for this particular application.
Great. And then there was one I saw. I think you might have answered this question. It might have rolled into the other one about the Active Scene. But the question was whether it was switchable glass, and I believe the answer to that was that it was the Vela film. Correct.
Correct. It's a film.
Awesome. The next question is on the content side, and it's asking if the projector can only show still images, or are there other formats supported as well?
So we forecast motion graphics. So, any sort of ads that we might run on, a regular monitor, we're able to run through the projector. So I think in club throughout the life of this year, we've actually done both. So there's, with the NEC projector, I think that we have the capabilities to really sort of deliver the whole spectrum.
Great. John, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to add to that. That's absolutely correct. Any sort of multimedia is fully supported there, and the video for the scan and go aisles is really nicely done. If you've noticed, with the projectors, you're not limited to that rectangle, right? You can really get creative in what you do there, and if you get the chance, I would encourage you to go buy a club and check it out for yourself.
And then the question was related to that. They may have missed it, and I'm not sure if we actually clarified, but roughly how many projector installations are in each store?
So there's going to be about 320 Sam's Clubs across the U.S. That are going to have at least 2. And then you're going to have another subset of 70 Sam's Clubs that will have 4. So Scan and Go ultimately represented a retrofit in half the clubs this year. For 2022, our teams are actually going to be completing the rest of the Sam's Club chain. So those will be implemented within this next year in every Sam's Club. The 70 stores are representative of when we are using the NEC projectors for targeted ads within adjacencies to HBA and laundry. So there's 2 of those per club. So 140 there, and then as well as 320, 330 or so that will have 2 per club for Scan and Go.
That's great. And the next question was around the timeline of implementation roughly, and I think you just spoke to that, so that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then to John, there was a question about, and I think this is a great question as well, what would the film look like without any power, like i.e. in a power outage or something like that? Does it go to the opaque or does it go to the clear?
It is opaque.
Perfect. And then I think that there was an attendee that asked about some of Sam's Club's goals during the needs analysis, and I would refer back to the deck and the presentation. Avixa will get that out, but there was definitely a slide that went through kind of the goals and objectives, or the business requirements, and how we met those business requirements earlier in the presentation. There's a great question on the response from the brands towards being promoted on the Sam's Club floor projection network.
Sure. Yeah. The response that they've had to the CPG community being able to come in and take advantage of this new real estate, because that's essentially what it is, right? If you're looking to be disruptive, to be impactful, and to reach members in a new way rather than traditional means, I think the response has been really great just through this first year. As we get through the second year, I think you're going to have the full chain implementation of these projectors, and so you'll see a lot more participation as this hardware rolls out across the rest of the chain. So yeah, great response from the CPG community and the partners. Ultimately, giving them an impactful place that's a high traffic area that typically they normally wouldn't have been able to leverage.
Great. Thanks so much, Drew. Let's see. That was the feedback from the brands. John, briefly, I think this will be an easy answer, and you've alluded to it somewhat, but there was a question around maintenance on the projectors. Obviously, we just mentioned that they don't have filters or anything. Is there any maintenance at all?
There's essentially no maintenance that's required on the projectors. With the laser light source, you no longer have to change lamps. So those were the two issues, right? Typically with projectors, you have to either clean the filter and change the lamp, but with the laser projector and the sealed optical block, you no longer have those concerns.
Perfect. We've got about 3 or 4 more, I think, so far. So there's a content question to Drew on, is it possible to target content depending on the stores or locations, regionally or state by state, something like that? And if so, what's the mechanism for that?
Sure. Yeah. So our clients utilize the Woven Manager CMS system to deliver targeted ads by store location. They can also do it by demographic or any sort of metric that they want to implement. So we have the capability based upon product adjacencies like we've been talking about, but by stores, by locations in the future, we will continue to refine the granularity in which we can target a specific product.
Perfect. There's a question on sound, which is great. I didn't even think about. Do the projectors have any sort of sound or directional audio that can be added?
They do have audio capabilities. I don't know that we're utilizing audio currently in the content.
Understood. Yeah, I don't know about this particular application, but it's great to know that it's possible, right?
Absolutely. Sure is.
Perfect. They're coming in fast now, so it's hard to keep up with the window. Let's see, targeted content. It says for those looking to sort of break into integrations like this at retail from the Avixa community, they were wondering about some of the, not necessarily people, but I believe titles on the Sam's Club staff. So if they were going to go into a corporate retail partnership, who would they target to liaise with?
I would say in general, I'll take that, Drew, if you don't mind. I would say in general, not specific to Sam's in particular, you want to interface with the marketing department, and typically look for titles like visual merchandising and things of that nature. Of course, the IT department is always crucial in these sorts of deployments as well.
Great. There was, sorry, go ahead, please, Drew.
Yeah, no, just specifically to double click on that one. So, they're asking about some of the folks at Sam's Club, which we work with. And I think it's something that we have a quote actually within our presentation from our client, Mike Hyatt, who heads up the Sam's Media Group. Actually, I believe it's pretty close to a year today that Avixa hosted another webinar where we did with Sam's Club surrounding the goal of monetization of our overall network. So you can actually, I think, go back and check that out for reference if you're interested.
Awesome. Let's see, that was retail integrations. And the last one that I see, unless anything else comes up, is how about adding sensors or some sort of cameras to gain some sort of analytical analysis from the system? Gentlemen?
John, is that, you want to take this one?
I can. That's always an option. I don't know that that's been considered at this point. I think the way that this is going to be measured is through qualitative measures by speaking with members on the experience, as well as ROI on the racetrack projectors.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of measurement technology out there. We've partnered with a lot of people, and it really just depends on what your objectives are, I think, for some of those types of questions, right? And then let's see, it looks like a John question. Did you have to tweak the settings on the projectors to get the brand colors to show properly on a gray floor? and how do you replicate the settings for a chain-wide rollout?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We went through essentially every setting on the projector and optimized it. And then the settings are applied before the product is shipped to the field. So Wovenmedia's got a company that's acting as a consolidator. They're bringing in all the equipment, applying settings, and then kit packing it and shipping out to the field for the install team.
Cool. And then, this is a good one, I think, for Drew. It's if they make changes, like if Sam's Club makes changes, we talked about the ability to manage content regionally or by store. But if they're making changes to a product line, let's say the end cap next to the projection or something like that, how fast can the content be updated to match the product change?
Sure. So a lot of our a lot of switching out some of the content, because you have remote control over these devices that are in store, you can simply reboot a device as soon as you publish it and get it uploaded. So the lead time between when you can implement that change is actually pretty short. So that's you really have that flexibility and the reactiveness to switch content out.
Yeah, and I would add, if it's just a simple content change, like changing the product near a display to another product, that's just deploying a piece of content within our CMS that's almost instantaneous. I mean, it's only limited by the speed of the internet. And then let's see, we answered the projector question. There is one more question on the webinar that Drew mentioned with Sam's Club on monetization. And everyone will get a follow-up email from this webinar. So if you're interested in us directing you exactly to that webinar, I believe it's on our website. We just did a new website launch, so please just feel free to reach back out to me or Wovenmedia after the webinar, and we'll be happy to point that in your direction. And then finally, I believe the last question that I see, so everyone feel free to type your questions if you have them, is regarding the way that that Sam's Club manages the network. Do they give, or maybe can Wovenmedia give, store managers the ability to do content changes, or is that all done by Sam's HQ?
Well, I think from a capabilities standpoint, you can certainly get down to the functional capability of club level or store level ability to give them that. So, as it is today, we work internally with Sam's Club HQ, who has an internal team that manages all of the content, and we work closely with. So, that's an interesting question, because it certainly has come up in certain, instances where we might have club specificity as it relates to pricing on menus, right? So how might we implement that sort of functionality? I think it's more of a question, more of would a retailer and their field operations give that capability, or how would they implement that with some safeguards that would allow that granular level of tweaking, right, to a CMS or to any advertising. So, yeah.
And I think that's a spot on answer to the question. It really depends on how you manage it within the Wovenmedia content management software. You can set up those permissions and responsibilities to allow somebody to do that, but it's more part of your corporate strategy as to whether and or how you want to do that.
Right.
And then there's one more that's just recently been added. It looks like, what information do you get from the client stores in order to tackle potential problems before an installation? Is there a site survey that goes out to a store that gets returned, or because the layout of stores is similar yet different, right?
Right. And I think the buzzword here is just operational excellence. I think that you, as a trusted business advisor and a partner to retail, those are always a part of your upfront conversations, where you would do a site survey, identify the needs, whether that be spec or what have you, adjacencies in club for the hardware to ensure that you're, working with the store operations. And so that's typically that is already a part of our process. And with any clients that we engage with, is doing our due diligence on the front end to understand not just, in order to solve the problem, how would we solve it? Understanding the scalability is not always a one size fits all, but having the flexibility to really drive that, across and achieving true scalability. So,
great. Well, I believe that covers all of the questions that I see in the QA. So I'll give it a second to see if there's any last minute questions that dribble in. Otherwise, I will turn it back over to Dion to wrap up today's webinar.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, John, Drew, Neel. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today's webinar, How Wovenmedia and Sharp NEC Revolutionized Floor Projected Video at Big Box Retail. This recording will be available on our website, avixa.org/webinars, within about 5 to 7 business days, and your half of renewal unit will be applied to your transcripts within those 7 business days. If you have any trouble, please contact my team directly at webinars@avixa.org. An important side note for CTS holders: if you've registered for the webinar with an email address other than what's on file for you, you won't get credit for attending. It can be corrected on the back end. However, just email your account rep and let them know that you used the wrong email address, and we'll get it fixed for you. So we'd like to thank today's sponsors, Wovenmedia and Sharp NEC, and a huge thank you to all 3 of our presenters, John, Drew, and Neel, for helping us to understand how Wovenmedia, along with Sharp NEC, has revolutionized floor projected video at big box retail. We hope you've enjoyed this webinar. Please stay safe and make it a great day, everyone.